Welcome to our podcast where we will unlock the secrets of the real estate world with the years of experience helping people buy, sell, and invest. I'm here to share insider tips, market insights, and real estate stories to help you succeed. Welcome, Umar.
My privilege, Khalid. Honestly, super happy to be here.
So, who's Umar?
A very simple person who can be a good friend, who can be trusted upon. Uh, I try to stay based on certain values, which are honesty, transparency, and definitely basic ethical values. Education wise, MBA, started my career as a banker, moved to UAE in 2013, so over almost 10 and 11 years for now. Happily married with a kid and doing real estate for over 5 years now.
Okay, that's good. What inspired you to become a real estate agent?
Ah. Well, to some extent, initially, all this glimpse which we see in Dubai happening around definitely inspires anyone who comes to Dubai to see how the real estate and how the state of the art infrastructure is getting built. And that was the key motivation that why don't we contribute to the growth of the country in terms of the way it is built upon? And then definitely career motives. To some extent, I see the opportunity in a way that I can help with my banking background to the people and assist them make well informed decisions based on facts, database, analysis, so that we make it a sort of proper investment oriented stuff.
And by the way, how long have you been in real estate industry?
Oh, well, to say smartly, 4 years and above now.
4 to 5 years
Yeah.
above you. And what was your first real estate transaction like?
Ah, all right. You remind me of old days. Let me recall it. Well, as the transition happened in a way that real estate for a banker was completely new, so I tried to give it a test along with one of my very close friends who happens to be my colleague in banking previously. He was heading one of the organizations in the market, and honestly, it didn't took actually much of the time, but it was a rental transaction where I think probably I made 3,000 dirhams or 4,000 dirhams bucks. But one thing which happened just after that, it's not about first transaction. It's about a sort of effort getting rewarded that I was the one in my first month. I closed probably 13 or 14 rental deals and became the sort of star of that month in my first year of real estate. First month, in fact.
Okay, that's great. Can you share any memorable story from your career?
Well, yes, couple of them are there. Having happy client is probably one of the key reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. It was a client from Saudi Arabia, and he was getting fascinated from the growth or the investment opportunities in Dubai, but somehow he was not able to digest whatever he was seeing it. He was referred to me from one of the client of mine earlier, and we had a couple of Zooms and these discussions. It took certainly 15 to 20 days. We had a couple of Zooms and phone calls. But by the way we were moving ahead, he was still having those doubts where things were not getting digested properly. So somehow we stayed in contact and we agreed that all right, let's take a little bit more of the time. And there was a gap. And in real estate, this happens very often that the buyers somehow don't really say no to you in a way that they don't want to proceed, but they buy time. On a fine morning, I received this text probably after 6 months where he says, Omar, you remember we had talked earlier and let's reconnect. This time it was very smooth for shortlisted projects. I suggested him one Zoom and down the lane on a fine evening, we chose the unit and we proceeded. He purchased it at a price, and at the handover now, when we are talking about, he's happy with over 60% of the capital gains on the project. On somewhere on the bottom of the screen, you will see his Google review. Having someone being in a phase where he trusts what you suggest with the facts and figures and findings, with that level of confidence where they praise you online and recommend to their family and friend circle, that's, I think, one of the finest thing from the customers.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, tell me what is the most rewarding part of being a real estate agent?
Oh, wow. As I just said, having happy customers is the first part of it. And at the same time, once you love what you're doing, and needless to mention, somehow that real estate is one of the finest rewarding careers. So both ways, it pays you. You have good customers relationship, you have happy customers, it's rewarding and pretty much flexible. You don't really need to have that sort of, how to say that, you don't really need to be a regular sort of employee kind of thing, because previously I'm a banker, so I can relate it, where we have the timelines of working and all that stuff. But here, being rewarding, having happiness from the customer, and being flexible to work what you need, just a phone and a laptop, and you are done. So pretty much, I think it sums it all.
Okay, tell me one thing like what is the best advice for the first time home buyer?
Oh well, that's a question which I feel everyone should answer in their own way at this stage. And that's one advice I always give to my new investors, that don't just simply jump in the market being non-prepared at your own level. Do a little bit of the research at your own level so that you are aware what to expect from the market. And then most importantly, wherever you are going to search, like to whosoever agent you're going to choose, be very sure that you ask for their RERA license. That's one of the thing which is very important, that make sure to deal with licensed brokers. And not only that, make sure that they guys represent a known or a famous name of the market. Further to that, Dubai offers pretty much legal protection to the buyers. Knowing them helps you stay protected. Name a few that we have the Wayrest app here, where all the approved projects of the Wayland department are there. We have DXB Interact Property Monitor, where any buyer can go by themselves online and definitely search what's going on in the market. These websites give you the actual data from the Wayland department. You have access to the sales, purchase, and lease transactions. I think if you know a little bit of the market and dealing with licensed brokers of the market, you are pretty much covered. Definitely, that's where, let's say, I take the full responsibility for my clients to really make sure to educate them first at first place, and then take them to a point where we talk about projects. It's my habit of doing it one and again every time, that we certainly take at least one meeting or 2 to 3 hours to understand the legalities of the market, what to expect, what sources or what tools do we have to really make sure that we are protected. Being new to the market, definitely that's scary for anyone who is new to the market. But the confidence is that we have the protection from the government of Dubai itself, and that's a big name. We can trust them. So, but it's definitely a little bit of the effort on the agent side as well. And as long as the buyers or prospective buyers, as soon as they enter the market, they do a little bit of the research. It helps.
Okay, that's good. Like how can seller ensure that they get the best price for their property?
All right. Sellers, how do sellers ensure that they get the best price for their property? Excellent part is that all the transactions happening in Dubai are getting registered under one system. which is monitored and managed by the Dubai Land Department. Officially talking, we have a platform called Property Monitor. And if we talk about open source, we have called DXB Interact. It's a website, pretty much easy to use for any customer. If you want to sell, you have the liberty to go and check what's happening in that community. You have the liberty to check what's happening in that building during last couple of days or months. What are the average selling prices? What is per square feet prices? And even what's the exact rental prices going on in that building? Now, having known those averages definitely gives you a comfort that you make sure that you are not exploited.
What are the common mistakes buyer makes and how they can avoid them?
Ha, well, that's a tricky question. Now, what happens? Any buyer when they enter the market, one thing which I always tell and suggest to my prospective buyers that they should avoid the temptation of sort of FOMO, fear of missing out, until unless certain decisions are backed up by the database, by the facts and figures. It becomes pretty much uninformed decision that what you are buying is cannot be backed up. So avoiding emotions while making certain decisions, especially related to finances, is important. And then, as we just discussed, that relying yourself on the market data, the transactions from the Land Department, having little bit of the feedback from Property Monitor and the XB Interact, and then making sure that the people you choose to work with are licensed, pretty much covers your interest on your part.
What is the best way to determine the value of property?
Good part, we have the tools available in the market. As we just discussed, that each and every transaction of the system is getting recorded in the Land Department's system. So, going in detail, little micro study, we have the database access available where we can determine the market average of that community. Let's say if there is a property in Business Bay, we can know the selling prices of Business Bay on average. We have the access where we can go in detail and check which particular building is having what sort of transactions, what is the per square feet pricing there, what is the selling prices there, what is the rental prices there, which series is getting sold more, how many transactions are actually happening. Based on the database, we have those trends where we can examine what sort of units are getting sold more, either it's a studio or one bed or two bed or three bed. And then we can analyze based on our expertise that what are probably the reasons why certain transactions are more for certain series and why certain transactions are less for those series. Let's say one bedroom transactions are high and two bedroom transactions are low. Luckily, thankfully, uh, thankless, thankful to the system that we have those type of details available where the decisions can be pretty much made based on the facts and figures.
How someone can like you can say, how someone can start investing in real estate with a limited budget?
Oh well, that's again one of the finest question you are addressing. This is the question we keep on asking. People think that Dubai is expensive. Good part that Dubai, in terms of entry prices, is not expensive. With the type of entry prices we have, with the type of flexibility of payment options we have, and the type of property in terms of luxury and quality we have, it gives pretty much very high leverage to anyone who is looking to buy at even low ticket prices. Let's say as low as 150,000 US dollars safely. That too, we have options where they can choose to pay these payments in as low as 5, 6, probably 7 years as well. Why not? So Dubai is not expensive.
Right. What trends are you seeing in current real estate market?
To summarize it quickly, we post COVID, we have seen the trends increasing from the prospect of community living and the villas. We have seen very high number of transactions in terms of villas. We have seen a huge number of projects coming up by the leading developers in terms of villas, townhouses, mansions, mega mansions. The trend has moved from skyscrapers to a decent share of the market where it is given to the communities, societies, communities like having over 750 hectares of the total area. Another thing, as the vision of Dubai 2023, 2033, and 2040 suggests that Dubai is moving towards more greener vision. We see that these communities offer 50% of their land, 60% of their land being dedicated to the trees and green landscapes. So we have increasing trend of houses, land, townscare, townhouses, mansions, villas. At the same time, recently we have seen a very high acceptance of the branded residences as well, in terms of villas, in terms of apartments as well. And probably Dubai has become one of the place where the largest amount of transactions are getting recorded for a property price above $10 million and more. So these two trends are definitely very much on the high rise in Dubai.
How do you think the market will evolve in the next 5 years?
Ah, that's another sort of frequently asked question, that the market already has reached to a high, property prices are higher, or it's not the good time to buy properties in Dubai. I always say it in a way that I was going through a report where I happens to see the per square feet pricing of the world, of the whole globe. And surprisingly, I see Dubai being placed at 175th number, approximately, that it is 174th or 175th precisely. But per square feet price average cost wise is at 175th on the global list. Whereas if we compare that with the quality of life index Dubai provides, probably, if not the best, we are among the top 10 countries of the world. So Dubai has a lot room to improve in terms of its per square feet pricing, and that's pretty much evident from the studies being done. So the way we see moving ahead, the market has a lot of extra room available for extra growth. We have seen a very large number of property transactions being happening where the people want to live in Dubai. So the trend of investment in Dubai from a short term has moved to the long term. And that's pretty much evident from the average ticket size of the transactions we are seeing. We are seeing very large number of transactions increasing on 2 bed, 3 bed, 4 and above, where the people want to have these properties as their second home in the world. So overall, talking about the prospects of the market, keeping in view the agenda of 2033, 2040, and then with the dynamic plan of the expansion of city, including but not limited to the south district of Dubai, with the evolving new international Al Maktoum airport being one of the largest airport of the world. We are very much hopeful that this market is not gonna slow down for at least next 5 years, and then two, it will stabilize at a point where the price range will definitely match to all international cosmopolitan and metropolitan cities like UK, US, New York, Monaco, Singapore, maybe. So we are just starting to become uh, a sort of leading player among the top tier players of the market already.
Okay, Umar, tell me one thing. How important location? How important is location when choosing a property?
Well, there is a famous saying in the way we always happens to say that just look for three things: location, location, location. Probably that's a little bit of the older version of how we see the locations. I based on the facts and studies, I include one more thing along with it, that location along with the top tier developer is very important. It's not just the location, because we have seen certain transactions in downtown, we have seen certain transactions in Business Bay as well, where the neighboring properties are performing much better, but those properties haven't increased much. They haven't made a very decent amount of money, and that key element in their performance in comparison to the neighborhood is definitely the development. Certain developers are there whose properties on evolving locations are performing much better than even certain developers' properties on the prime locations. For example, Ellington in JVC is able to produce 10% rental and above. Whereas if we compare even some XYZ developer in Business Bay or downtown, it's rare that the rental incomes are at that level. Not only that, the type of lifestyle being provided by these leading developers is unmatched. So, yes, location is very important, no doubt about it. But location mixed with a nice development makes it much better, or rather, much more killing factor while deciding the choice of the property. And before I conclude this part, let me say it that based on the database, two things are more important while considering that: how much mature that community has already become, and at the same time, based on certain factors, how much potential a certain community, which is at a very beginning stage, has. Let me put up in one example. Let's say we have seen Emaar beachfront coming up from 2000 dirham per square feet to on average 5000 dirham per square feet now. Now, if someone wants to buy a property for investment and he's willing to keep the property for 5 to 7, 10 years, we have another waterfront property coming up where the chances to secure an excellent tier development in front of the water is at 2,500 dirhams per square feet. Now, with the comparison with the facts and the history and the track record of the performance of the properties in the market, this new water facing community has all those factors which are required for the properties to grow. So that's how we safely can say and connect it, that all the waterfront properties, if they have performed in past to a certain extent, so choosing this property on a waterfront location which is evolving and you are just the new entrant to the community, definitely it gives a sort of confidence and sort of high probability that you will make high amount of capital gain on that.
Okay, that's good. By the way, Umar, tell me one thing, like, how do you balance your professional and personal life in such a demanding industry? Can you tell me, please?
All right, that's a question. I hope my wife does not listen that. Well, honestly, no doubt about it that it's a challenging industry. It requires a lot of attention. It requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of focus. We are in a city which is metropolitan, and we are central hub and center of attention for particularly all the globe. Definitely, there are times when US buyers are connected over Zoom. There are times when Canadian and Australian buyers are connected over Zoom. Sometimes we are physically involved with the meetings during the day. So yes, it's difficult to really say that how can we make sure that during the day we can prioritize the professional responsibilities, and during off time we can, because there is no as such off time available when you are working globally. But good thing is that's where that you are working on a sort of industry where you are, how to say it, that you are no more time bound, you are no more location bound. And that's, I think, the best way that sometimes I take little bit off from my work schedule and keep myself remote. So going to a remote destination, spending time with the family, and just managing the things a little bit online, that somehow helps. So doing things remotely and sometimes prioritizing family over the stuff if it can be managed. I think that's where it helps.
And what skills do you think make a successful real estate agent?
Khalid, your questions are very relevant. Anybody trying to enter real estate industry, I always suggest them one thing, that apart from so many other soft and hard skills people talk about, the most important skill probably in this industry is to understand that you are going to play a very, very important role in the decision making of the people or of the families where the money stake is in millions. Like, try to take it serious. If you don't have that aptitude, please don't come to this industry. That's being said. Further to that, if you are having that empathic attitude that you understand that people's money is as good as your own money, and while deciding or while suggesting the projects, if you keep that approach, that if it's my own money for coming out of my own pocket, will I be making the same decision? I think we somehow lack that sort of approach here. And then everybody knows, all the sales trainers talk about it, the soft skills, the presentation skills, your own personality, your dynamics. Definitely, your approach towards details matters a lot. If you have the aptitude where you can analyze the things based on statistics, how to present them in a way that makes sense, all these things matters a lot. But as I said, that that approach to treat people's money as your own money is something very important. If you
Okay,
can build that, you are gonna stay in this industry for long.
okay, Umar, who has been your biggest influence and mentor in real estate?
Well, I'm always bold and definitely very honest to mention this, that while I was trying to understand real estate market, Firas Al Masadi, my first boss from FAM Properties, was one of the key figures I started learning things from. And those things which I learned from him in very early phase of my career, they stayed a decisive factor in the success, whatever till now I got. Because the values he shares and the way things he suggests to do, that's where I think I'm much differentiated than my peer agents, that my focus is always more on long-term relationship management with my buyers. And that's one of the key things I always proudly say, that whosoever purchased with me since beginning till now, they are happily connected in my network till now, and they can honestly blindly suggest any of their friend and family circles to really have confidence in my skills. A sort of recommendation where they says that he's a trustworthy person, you can trust his skills and on him as a person as well. So definitely a credit goes to Firas. And as I just mentioned, that while transitioning from banking to real estate, I started learning from him through LinkedIn and all those soft mediums. And I was privileged enough to join him probably after 3 months or 4 months. And so I worked with him in farm for like over somehow 2 years.
Umar, tell me, if you're not in real estate, if you're not a real estate agent, what career would you pursue?
Well, I'm pretty much happy with my previous banking career, excelled in that, had very decent, rewarding career. So I think I'm pretty much into numbers, finances. So if I would not be a real estate professional, I think I would be continuing my banking career and I would be a successful banker.
Okay, that's good. Uh, which one thing you wish people knew about real estate agents?
Oh well, it's very important. One line. People think that the way real estate market is somehow unpredictable. And I always tell them we have database available to validate any of the decisions we make. We have access to those type of facts and figures where the decisions can be very well made on well informed sort of phase of mind. So that's one thing, that the decisions should not be only emotional. Decisions in the way real estate market can be numerical based on facts and figures.
Okay, Umar, tell me one thing. What do you think? Like, if I want to invest, if I am on invest, what is the best for me? Investment best for me? Like, I have to invest in the villa or apartment. What do you think?
All right. Call it a sort of open question, difficult to say directly which could be better, but definitely the key indicator in terms of decision making process could be the price part of it. If we are targeting anything between 1 million to or anything less than 2.5 million probably, then definitely apartment from a top tier developer is a good choice. But when we talk about a budget which is fairly 2 million dirhams and above, then I think we should look for villas. Statistically, I was just going through the report from Knight Frank, and they did some nice analysis. And there's dimensions that they did a study for previously, I think probably for last 3 years. And the price trend on an average shows that the prices of apartments on average grew by 60%, whereas the prices of villas have grown over 100%. So, yes, we have the study, research, facts, and figures highlighting the fact that, yes, for a ticket, if you qualify for that, go for villa. It definitely qualifies a sort of guaranteed capital gain in the longer run.
If you could own any property in the world, what would it be or why?
Anywhere in the world, Dubai is my first love. So definitely, if I want to own something, that's in Dubai. And second question should be what and why. If I'm starting as a middle ticket, definitely a 4 or 5 bed villa facing the golf course. At the same time, a villa on water facing location. I love both of them. So either or a water facing, probably Palm Jabal Ali sort of thing, or I think Emirates Hills and Dubai Hills, depends on the budget. So we have options where we can definitely go for that.
What is the craziest and funniest thing have you seen while showing a property?
Craziest thing, as part of our job, sometimes, because we have to deal with the properties at different stages. So latest example, we went for a shoot and thinking that we will be able to shoot inside and outside of the property without any problem. But once we were in the middle of the shoot, we were obstructed by the security staff that this is an area which is considered